Welcome to the Paths We Take podcast. I'm your host, Jordan DeSange. Let's hit a path. Hey there, and welcome back to the Paths We Take. Today on the Paths We Take, I'm joined by Jed Radbone. Jed's story is one of resilience, perspective, and pushing past what once felt impossible. At a young age, he was involved in a serious accident, and there were real fears he may never properly walk again or return to sport. Fast forward to now, and he's built a name for himself in triathlon through grit, discipline, and an incredible mindset. In today's episode, we talk about his backstory, the challenges that shape him, and the paths he's taken to become the athlete and person he is today. Today's episode is all about triathlon. It is all about mindset and some other incredible things as well. So, without further ado, let's get into today's path. Sweet. Thanks for taking the time. Thanks for coming on the podcast, Jed. Means a lot, especially on a Saturday. But how's your morning been so far?
It's been very good. Yeah, thank you very much for having me. It
That's
was
all right.
funny when you asked me, I was like, not. I wasn't too sure because the first thing I thought was like, why do you want to talk to me?
Yeah.
Like, what do I have that?
Yeah.
Like, I know lots of other people that have done some amazing things. Like, they deserve to be on here as well. So, I'm super excited to be here. I've actually have not been able to stop thinking about it.
There you go. Well,
I've always got things I want to talk about.
yes. Well, I'm happy that you made the decision to come on because I think, again, this is the first time that we're meeting as well. So it's not like I know a whole lot about yourself. And I think everybody has a story, right? Everybody has a backstory. Everybody has something to say. So that's the reason why I wanted to have you on, really, because I'm sure there are going to be things that are going to come up today. But for the person listening right now, if they had an autobiography out in front of them, it was on yourself, really. What are some details or what are some things that you think that they would find in that autobiography that really highlight kind of your path historically to where you are now, basically?
Um, I think there's a lot to unpack in that, definitely.
Yeah.
I said to someone the other day, like, they actually said to me, like, it's a new person that I've come to know pretty well. And they said, like, I feel like you've had 10 lives. And it's like, yeah, I guess you're sort of right. But, like, I don't know. I think a lot would be around, I'm a super driven person. So once I find a passion for something, I'll really work towards it. Super motivated, caring, and thoughtful person. Um, but I think as this conversation goes, I'll be able to debunk that question more. But
Yeah.
off the cap, I can't
Yeah.
like completely debunk it.
It's a hard one, isn't it?
Yeah,
Really?
yeah.
Because, like, I think also sometimes we're quite modest about ourselves too. I think, like, we don't want to talk up ourselves too much,
Yeah.
whether it be conscious thing or not. But, you mentioned that you're a driven person. Is that something that you feel like you've always been from a young age, or has that drive kind of evolved throughout your experience throughout life?
I think I've always been driven.
Mm.
But it's taken a bit of like maturity to realize like what I'm actually driving towards, and like what I want to achieve out of a goal or something.
Yeah, so when it comes to though, like when it comes to what you've done so far, you've been in Adelaide and you found sport. Was sport something that you've done from a young age? Where did that start for you?
Yeah, definitely. I think at home, like both mum and dad are super sporty. I think
Okay.
they've both done all the major marathons in the world. I remember as a kid being in like a rucksack and dad like carrying me up Brown Hill Creek or something like that. It was crazy. Um, and then as a junior, like football was a massive part of my life. Dad played for Essendon for a couple of years, which was one of the AFL teams in the early 90s. And I've always, you always grow up like admiring athletes. Like the fact that there's can be people that are just so good at a sport that they make it a profession, or and so I've always loved that. Um,
when when you were in footy and, when you were, I guess, going through that stage, did you find yourself very driven in sport, or how do you think like it evolved over the years when it comes to your goals, and when it comes to like what kind of goals did you learn from sport that you've taken from your life
Yeah.
basically?
Um, yeah. Well, I remember when I was a kid, I would like get up before school and go do some football training to like prepare myself for the season. Um, and I don't even know whether a lot of it is like personal drive or whether it's just pure stubbornness. Like
Mm,
it's a thing of competing with myself of like I want to be the best, I want to do this, I want to achieve these goals,
yeah.
and yeah, it sort of, I guess it started there, and then it just developed more as I got older, and then at a sort of a pivotal point in my life when I had a really traumatic injury, and I was in hospital for 2 months. Um, it sort of escalated that a lot more as I got a little bit older because really began to realize how precious life can be, and that even the simple things of just getting up and walking to your car, or going for a run with your friends, like that could have just been taken away from me so easily. And so as I've gotten older, I've reflected on that and used a lot of that as like my drive towards endurance sport, just the a passion for just keeping well and just moving the body and being fit.
Yeah. So when did endurance sport kind of come to be for you? You started with footy, I assume. When do you think endurance sport kind of started to take over?
Um, Probably in like my so I'm 26 now.
Mhm.
It was probably more in like my early 20s
Okay.
where um I just through just like exercise,
Mm.
training, um I actually don't, it's hard to say really. I'm trying to think in my head like
Yeah.
when was the pivotal moment
Yeah.
about like, and I don't know whether that actually is a pivotal moment. I
Yeah.
think it's more just something that's gradually developed, and
Mm.
like you are doing something like even just doing a half marathon. At one point in my brain was like, nah, that's way too far to run. But now I could go on to a 20, like yourself probably, you could just go to a 20K and not even think anything about it,
Yeah.
and then probably go for a swim and bike after.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
um, so I don't know whether there was like a pivotal moment. It just
Mhm.
became this, like I just loved exercise. I just loved being fit. Like I used to get anxious about the idea of being unfit.
Mm.
Like I used to, before races or before football preseason or whatever it be, I'd be like anxious thinking like, am I going to be fit enough? Like I want to be fit. I want to be fit. I want to be fit. Um, so I think it just started there and just snowballed
Yeah.
as I yeah,
Yeah.
progressed more in the
I
sport.
I find endurance sport quite interesting, something like triathlon or running or whatever, because it's something that I think a lot of people just find naturally sometimes. Like,
Mm,
I don't think there is a pivotal moment for something like that. Like, yeah, you could grow up. I grew up doing athletics, and then it naturally progressed into long distance stuff, and I was a runner. But I think for a lot of people, whether it be starting with footy and then, that kind of comes to an end and it's like, now what? And naturally other things kind of evolve. Or for some people, like they just naturally kind of start doing cycling or running or whatever. Like I find that interesting because everybody has a different origin story when
yeah,
it comes to triathlon or running or swimming or whatever it might be, because everybody's there. Either they've done it for all of their lives or they found it through a different avenue,
yeah,
really. And
yeah,
it's hard to answer like that question because I don't think there is a pivotal moment for a lot of people. Even myself, like growing up doing athletics and then now being more of a long distance runner and not doing anything under like, you know, 5K or whatever, because that like scares me now. Like it's interesting how we evolve over the years and
yeah.
find things that, we consider fun these days. For you, when it came to, I guess, that backstory, because I think like I've had a few people say something similar, like they've had maybe an injury or they've had something significant happen. For me, I've been quite vocal. I've had something happen. Oh, it's only been 4 years ago as well, where like running activity was taken away from me, and I think it does put things into perspective. Some people at different ages. Um, what age did you have your kind of accident or your injury?
Yeah, I was 13.
Okay, wow.
Yeah, and so anyone who knows me is like I'm a super hyperactive person, just like crazy, got way too much energy for my own good. And so it was right at the beginning of summer holidays, and I was at a mate's farm driving like it's called a gator, which is like a motorized golf cart. Like you see a lot of groundsmen driving them. Um, and we were mucking around. I think we'd watched Tokyo Drift or something the night before, so I thought it would be a good idea to try and turn this thing sideways, have a bit of fun, having absolutely no idea how to drive the. Can I swear?
Yeah, absolutely.
Having absolutely no
Yeah,
idea how to drive the fucking thing.
yeah, yeah.
And then going like sort of downhill on this dirt track, and then turning, and then overcorrecting, and then this golf buggy. I got it sideways. Fucking oath, I got
Yeah.
it sideways. But I like came onto the grass, and that's when it sort of started grabbing a bit of traction, and then it flipped, and that was left-hand drive on that buggy, so it flipped to the left, and it sort of threw me out. And as it threw me out, the top roof came down, landed on top of me, and pinned me under. So I ended up initially I thought I just had a really bad like degloving of my lower back, um, and then a broken ankle or whatever. But it turned out after I went into hospital, I'd broken my pelvis in 4 places and completely dislodged the right side. Um, and I actually had 2 mates with me, and they're both completely like amazing and incredible people because one of them, Ethan, he ran like 2K, I think, back towards the house to get phone reception to call someone. And then Oscar, my other mate, he picked me up and like carried me and moved me to the side, and took his jacket off and put some like pressure down on the wound. His dad's a doctor, so I was in good hands, really, really. As good of a hands as a 13-year-old could be with another
I was just gonna say,
13-year-old.
still as a 13-year-old, like
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
pretty incredible.
I'm small, so
Yeah, okay.
I was probably like 40 kilos. So it
Okay.
was like he was just a strong enough
Yeah.
man child. He could pick me up.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I think talking to like my orthopedic surgeons and stuff at the hospital, I was the youngest person on record to have that severe of a pelvis injury. So what usually happens is you have 2 forms of pelvis injuries. One's like a compression and then a shearing. And I'd basically done 2 of them at once. So yeah, your pelvis sits like this. I'd like compressed it, like I'm not really too sure how, like compressed it this way. So I'd cracked it in 4 places, but then dislodged it on the right side. So yeah, initially, and I didn't actually, I was kept in the dark a little bit. Like I wasn't really told too much of the finer details, I guess, because you just being that young and vulnerable, you don't really want to know that the risk of being able to walk again was there. Yeah, the internal bleeding risks, and whether if I did come back to walking, what it would look like, whether I'd even be able to do contact sports or anything of that sort. But it wasn't until later years that I found that out. Um, but yeah, the Dr. James McLean, who's the orthopedic surgeon that worked on me, he developed. I was too small to have like pins and plates put in. They didn't want to mess with my growth plates and things, so he developed a brace which like was sort of made out of wetsuit material with Velcro on it. So super like old school. Like if it had leather straps and like buckles on it, you'd have been like, "This is vintage." But he, so that was like would wrap around my waist, and then you'd tighten it, and it would theoretically it was meant to pull my pelvis back in. And then I was in traction, which means they put a pin through my femur, and then laying in a bed, they had weights hanging off the end of the bed to pull my pelvis back down. And I was in hospital for 2 months, um, laying completely flat. The most I was allowed to sit up was 10 degrees or something. Um, yeah, it was. I think like you don't realize how traumatic something like that is until you're a bit older. Like it wasn't until I probably got to my later teens where I was like, fuck, like that was a big injury because you're so robust as a kid, you know, you like you could fall off like 5 meters of playground and just land on the ground, get back up, and like nothing happened. So, um, yeah, I think so. I didn't didn't ever realize the severity of the injury until I got older, and then I've always like that's played a massive part of my life. Like it caused me to mature pretty quickly, and then just I guess like just always be super grateful for the position that I'm in and just able to use my body.
Yeah. Yeah. What were kind of the first activities after that experience that you got yourself back into? So how long, I guess, did it take? I know 13 is probably sometimes it's hard to remember back then, but what did that year or couple years look like after that? Were you able to get back to sport, or what did that look like for you?
Yeah, yeah. So it took a bit. Like I think it was probably um, maybe 8 or 9 months later before I went back to playing football. Um, which some would say maybe that's quick, but like obviously at that age it feels like an eternity. Um, but along the line, it was a long road of like I was in a wheelchair for a bit, um, and I progressed from a wheelchair to like crutches, but no putting weight down, and then weight bearing, and then it was like eventually get rid of the crutches, and you just slowly building up. Um, but I actually remember it was I played my first game of football on like a Wednesday night or something, and and I actually kicked the first goal.
Oh, there you
Yeah.
go.
And one of my best mates, who's still my best mate today, he was the first guy to get around me after kicking the goal. So it's a pretty crazy, funny story.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, awesome. From there, when do you think like because it sounds like footy was kind of the primary thing at a younger age. When do you think triathlon started to? I know you were saying your early 20s. Um, when do you think that you started to like want to compete and do 70.3s and that kind of stuff?
Um, it's funny if I looked back at myself 4 years ago,
Mhm.
and I would be telling myself like, "You're an idiot. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it."
Yeah.
Because I like hadn't even done my first 70.3. I'd done like 2 triathlons, and I was like, I want to race pro.
Yeah.
I want to
Okay.
be a professional athlete.
Yeah.
Like this looks fucking awesome, you know? I love training, I love exercise, I love being fit. This is what that sport is. You know, it's the most one of the most demanding endurance sports, I think. And it requires so much from the body. And yeah, so I was super ignorant at the time. Um, but yeah, I don't like. I remember maybe 2 years before that, I was like swim, biking, and running, but just for fitness. And it wasn't like I'd never really put the three together. Like I hadn't even thought about doing a triathlon. And actually, my brother did short course triathlon as a junior, but it still just hadn't even crossed my mind. I remember um, I was over in Melbourne. I had TAFE school for my apprenticeship, and I went to Brunswick Baths with my cousin and we went for a swim. I think I did maybe 500 meters and I could not, shit you not, I could not pull myself out of the pool. My arms were so fucked.
Yeah.
I just did not, I couldn't. I had to like, I was like an old lady. I had to go across to the rails and
Yeah,
like
pull
pull
yourself
myself
up.
up. And then like a year and a half after that, I was saying I wanted to be a professional athlete in
Yeah.
the sport, and
There you go.
it was like, what are you doing, bro?
Yeah.
But like, you know, it's one of those things you just fruition it, put it to mind, and I think it goes back to like my stubbornness. Like, I'm gonna do it. I want to do it. I want to give it a go, and just if not, why not? You know, I I was super hard on myself when I finished school. Like, I um I knew I didn't want to go to uni, and um so I knew study as in uni wasn't an option. Um, and my ultimate dream job was working as a firey, and I've been trying to get in since I was 18. It hasn't happened yet, but So I ended up getting offered an apprenticeship doing avionics, which is like electrical maintenance and engineering on planes. So super unique opportunity. And I had a cousin who was doing mechanical engineering on planes as well, actually helicopters, sorry. Um, and I sort of just thought, well, you know what, why not? I've finished with school. Um, I was maybe going to go traveling to Europe, but I had no real plans. And so I just dived headfirst and started doing it. And I knew pretty early on, I was like, "Oh, not sure I really want to do this." Um, but stubborn again, I just stuck at it, kept doing it, kept doing it. Um, Super grateful for the things that I learned. And despite being an apprentice, I was earning pretty good like money at the time, and I ended up actually buying a house out of it. And then it sort of became a thing of like, okay, well, I don't really care about the apprenticeship, but I still need some money to come in so I can pay for this mortgage. So I may as well just keep going to work. Ended up doing almost 4 years of the apprenticeship, um, until I got to a point where I was just so miserable, unhappy, and I was just like, I need to change something. And yeah, change nothing and nothing changes. So I was like, I've got to get out of here. And I think um, triathlon then, when in my ignorance, when I said I want to be a pro, it became like the perfect excuse to leave work and just pursue this goal. Because like there's no reason of being like, I just want to leave my job and keep trying to do triathlon for fun. It's like no one's gonna back you. Like I had to convince mum and dad to be like they're not gonna be convinced if I just say I just want to do it for fun. Like that's no, that's a hobby. So that's what it was like the whole no, I want to try and make it, you know. Um and Yeah.
I think you have to be like you have to have a certain mindset though to have the courage to stop something like that. Like, when you are in apprenticeship for that long, 4 years, like you've put in that work, but it sounds like you knew that that wasn't for you, right? But I think a lot of people sometimes get used to the comfort like of, oh, I've done it for this long, and yes, I'm miserable, but I'm able to pay my mortgage, I'm able to do this, that, and whatnot. And not that that's the wrong decision, but I think it takes a certain person to be like, well, no, I'm actually not 100% happy, I'm going to do something as risky, because it is, I think, like it can be risky to be make the decision, oh, I want to go all in and triathlon, or
Yeah.
like any sport really. But I think too, like triathlon, like is the whole pro side of triathlon is very different than, a pro footy player or whatever, right? Like
Yeah.
just because there is that lack of support too.
Definitely.
And
Definitely.
you are needing to do a lot behind the scenes by yourself, and not a lot of people will understand, whether it's friends, family, or whatever. So I think you do need to have a certain mindset for that to make that courage. Um, do you think there was a pivotal moment? Because I know you were saying that, like, at the end of the 4 years, you decided like, oh, I want to just flip the switch and go pro. Was there something that happened, or was that just something that you were like, 4 years had enough? I want to go pro and switch it.
Um, well, so if we sort of backtracked maybe like 7 or 8 months before that moment where I left the apprenticeship, I'd changed employers and I was really trying to give myself the best opportunity in that industry to be like, is this for me? Um, and because I was working with guys that would see a plane in the air and they'd start frothing at the mouth, you know, like and I just wasn't that enthusiastic about it. Like I really enjoyed some of the niche work that I was doing, but I just didn't have that enthusiasm. And so when you're working with aircrafts that have got souls on board, you sort of need to be passionate. And that's not to say like my work that I was doing on the aircraft was shit and I'm responsible for some crash. That's not true. But it's more just like you're not happy to be there. Um, and so I think, um, yeah, so I'd changed employers. I was trying to give myself the best opportunity, and I still just couldn't find it. I couldn't sink my teeth into it, and I was still just unhappy. And yeah, it was triathlon became that perfect excuse to be like, I want to do this, I want to give it a go. And you know, growing up, seeing how much both like mum and dad, other people have always admired athletes. You know, and myself as well, like how much I've admired just professional athletes and sport, and um, yeah, it just became sort of the perfect excuse.
Yeah. You mentioned stubbornness a lot.
Yeah, yeah.
But like also your experience as a 13-year-old, did that bleed into that courage at all? Because I think that is a good word for it, courage. You do need the courage to stop, let's say something stable like a typical 9 to 5. I mean, what you were doing wasn't typical, but like,
Mm.
a typical job to something like a sports goal to be a sportsman. You need to have the courage. Do you think there was a bit from that experience as a 13-year-old that bled into there at all? Or
Yeah, definitely. Well, it sort of goes back to what I was saying before about life just being so precious and fragile. Like you don't know what's around the corner. You never know. So um, it's yeah, I've got this tattoo on my arm that says, "Don't put off till tomorrow what you can afford to do today." And so when that moment came, I was like, "If not, why not?" Like if I don't want to look back in 20, 30 years time and be like, "Oh well, what if I did give it a go?" So yeah, I think maybe courage, um, definitely some ignorance, and I think just breaking as well. Like I was just keen. I needed something to just change. Yeah,
yeah. I think too, like it's unfortunate sometimes because like it's very hard, I think, to also sit here and for us to discuss something like this because again, like 3 years ago when I had my like emergency surgery and things were taken away from me that put a lot into perspective for me as well. And I think like you can't really describe that feeling to somebody that hasn't been in that position.
yeah,
It's easy for me to sit here and be like, "Oh yeah, I spent 7 years going to physio school and now I'm starting to walk away from that to do something completely different because I think like that moment for me was a pivotal moment where things shifted for me and it's very hard to tell somebody, "Oh, just like, do what you want to do and like make the change if you're not happy." But at the same time, like I think it is that simple sometimes, which is very hard to kind of come across and to chat about. But like I think at the end of the day, life is too short and you just kind of have to go all in what you want really.
yeah, definitely.
Mm.
Um, yeah, change nothing and nothing changes.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
um, and you you learn so much from mistakes anyway, so you may as well try.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. No.
So what was the surgery? I had no idea.
Yeah, no, it's I woke up one morning, my right leg was kind of like numb and I thought, "Oh, maybe I slept on it a bit funny or whatever." It started in my foot, like my foot was a bit numb.
Yeah,
So,
right.
took a shower and didn't really go away, but then like after maybe only like 10, 15 minutes, like my saddle region was going numb as well. And being a physio, I knew, oh, that's not good because
How did you realize? Like, what was you like? Was it
um
literally like you
no,
could?
like you could feel like pins, needles, and like just not feeling the floor a bit.
Yeah, right.
Um, and
That's
in
scary.
like yeah, in the medical world, like quadia equina is where like the bottom of your spinal cord is compressed by some means, and it's a medical emergency because you can lose complete function of your legs basically. Um, so I drove myself to the ED, like one does. And
Just goes numb on the
yeah,
accelerator.
yeah,
You get there
exactly,
super fast.
exactly, because it was my right side too, but, I mean, I got myself to the QEH, went into the ED, checked myself in. This was, like, 3 years ago, and I I to this day, I'm, like, quite amazed because there was nobody there, like, there was nobody. It was, like, a random Wednesday at, like, 9 a.m. or whatever,
Yeah.
but, like, there was nobody there, so the nurses were, like, kind of like, "Oh, we don't really know, like, what's going on," and then I was like, "Oh, okay. I don't like want to be like, oh, I know better than you, but like I'm a physio. This is what's going on, blah blah blah." So then I got right in. We scanned everything. They scanned my back. couldn't find anything. Eventually, 3 hours later, the pain got so bad, they ultrasound my groin and they found like a small, it was a cyst, it turned out to be. And it was
Yeah,
just
right.
compressing on like one of my main nerves and arteries. So I was losing, yeah, losing blood supply basically.
It's crazy how that
Um,
can just happen like almost overnight, hey?
exactly. And the doctors were saying like, "Oh, well maybe like you already had it and it just grew or like it shifted or whatever." I don't know. I don't really know the whole medical side of
Yeah,
that
yeah.
kind of stuff, but yeah, it was just a complete fluke, really. So, again, that for me put things into perspective because if something like that can just happen overnight and you wake up one morning and again like I at the time was working full time as a physio in like a standard private practice and whatever and then like that all happened and 3 months later I like walked away and kind of went on to the next venture because
Yeah.
again it put things into perspective and I thought life's too short, might as well like, and for me too like it really highlighted my love for endurance sport, running, that kind of stuff because of the surgery that they had to do, I couldn't go to the gym. Probably this happened in October, probably until about January. I
Yeah,
just
wow.
like I could do upper body stuff here and there, but like even if I did anything more than like 5 kilos of anything, like because it was my groin, it like I would get abdominal pain and
Guess it
like,
was so no close to the nerve as well. Did that have anything
yeah,
to do with it?
yeah, potentially. But anyways, and then I couldn't run until like about February as well.
Yeah,
So
wow.
like that for me was a massive like blow, not being able to like do something that I've done all of my life and that like I love.
Yeah, it becomes
Um
a part of your
yeah,
identity and
exactly.
it's
And then
gone.
it's just stripped away really. So I think again, like for like me to have that experience, for you to have that experience, like that's probably a pivotal moment for me just recently that like has shifted things. But it's hard because like for people out there that are listening right now that are in maybe like a rut or like know that something's not 100% right but don't have that courage or don't have that drive to get out of that comfort. It's very hard to give advice in that
Yeah.
sense, I think. Yeah.
It's so true. And it's actually like in the past, I want to say probably the past two or so years, like when I've spoken more publicly about like my injury and then my correlation to endurance sport. But I've really wanted to use that to motivate people more and more. Um, and because like you often have people close to you that are like, wow, that's an amazing story, but you don't know quite whether they're saying it because they love you or because they're your friend or they're just close to you. Um, so yeah, it was actually I had an amazing story happen to me the towards the end of last year. I was out riding and um, I'll say his name because he's actually got a book coming out, so it'll be public. But his name's Adam Rosewarne, and he is a cyclist. Just your weekend warrior. Just loves it. Was out on a Sunday morning once, got hit by a car, and was in induced coma for 6 weeks. The girl that hit him was drink driving, and she worked in Parliament. And he had, I think he said on, it was the third biggest brain related insurance payout in history. So it was like traumatic for him. Very, very like, and I think still to this day he has problems with brain swelling and things like this. Um, anyways, just through the community and everything, like he had come across my stuff before, and yeah, one day I was out riding and filling up my bottles at the top of Norton Summit, and this guy comes up and he's like, "Are you Jed Radbone?" I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "I just want to say, man," and then he spilled out this like amazing life story of his accident and everything, and then his return to being back on the bike, and he just said that me talking about my story played a massive part in him having the courage to get back out riding and that he'd found it really motivational. And I was like, I was like completely shocked by it because to me, his story motivates me. And then for him to then flip it and be like, you're the one that's motivated me to get back on the bike. I was like completely shocked. I've got his contact details, everything. I talked with him, and yeah, I was just completely blown away. And still, like now, I'm just like, and it's crazy because that now has given me even more motivation to try and inspire others.
Because that's the thing is you don't really know what your words can do, you know?
Mm,
Like, I think too, like sometimes we downplay our own experience as well. Like we downplay the importance sometimes of talking about paths and experiences because you just don't know like who out there could be listening and who,
can
like your
find something
story could
from it.
find something from it. Exactly. Even if we like I think it's all relative, right? Like even if somebody finds my story, your story, not appealing to them or they don't take anything away, I think there are always, even if it's just one person, like I think there's importance there.
Yeah,
Really, because like you were saying, like if there's somebody out there that has another story that you might find more motivating or driven or whatever it might be, like for them, it could be a role reversal. Like you just don't know what
yeah,
it's all relative, I think, to us and our experiences, really.
yeah, yeah, definitely.
All right, I want to talk to you about sunglasses made for runners by runners. That's why I wear Re Your Run sunglasses. Lightweight, zero bounce, and they stay locked in even when you are sweating through speed sessions, long runs, out in the sun, whatever it might be. They are stylish enough for daily wear, durable enough for race day, and just the perfect combo. Honestly, I love brands that get the sport, get the grind, and support the running community, not just the podium finishers. If you're serious about your run gear and want shades that perform as hard as you, go check out Re Your Run. Use my code Jordan10 to save some money and get yourself some stylish sunnies that actually perform and look good. Run smart, stay protected, look good doing it with Re Your Run sunnies. All right, team, quick shout out to today's sponsor because they've genuinely been a game changer for me personally, and that is U Foods. So here's the thing, no matter what your goals are, fat loss, muscle building, training for something big, or honestly just trying to survive a busy week, U Foods has meals that actually taste amazing. And I'm not talking about those sad frozen meals that taste like fake ingredients and disappoint you every single time. These meals taste fresh, they taste real, and they don't feel like you're on a meal plan at all. I literally look forward to them. But the real reason that I'm obsessed personally is time. My time is everything, and saving literally 3 to 5 hours a week from grocery shopping, cooking, cleaning the kitchen, that honestly is priceless to me. Those hours go back into my training, they go back into this podcast, into the other podcasts that I produce, and just my sanity as well. So, if you've been thinking about giving pre made meals a go, or you just want to make your life so much easier, use my link in the show notes and you'll get a free box of meals to try out. Seriously, try it. If you're anything like me, you'll wonder why you didn't start sooner. Um, Now, when it comes to, I guess, wanting to go pro and that whole like stubbornness, I guess. What were kind of some things that you really had to go into like that first kind of transition of you getting out of the apprenticeship and then starting to train triathlon a little bit more intently? Um, were there any like things that you kind of had to overcome during those things, or was it all like just go into it full on and go for it?
Well, yes, I definitely went into it full on, and that I think that was a blessing and a curse because um, very early on, not listening to my body, I would completely malnourished myself and just through pretty much overtraining in
Yeah.
a way.
Okay.
Um, First of all, like my body wasn't used to the amount of volume that I was doing,
Mm,
and then I wasn't fueling like appropriately to
yeah.
sustain and recover from all
Yeah.
that training. And yeah, I ended up getting a stress fracture,
Oh, wow.
and then got some bloods done. My iron was like
Mm,
so low,
yeah.
crazy low. I had to get an infusion actually in the end.
Okay.
Um, and so I think that was a massive learning point
Mm,
early on because it wasn't just like you can just go out, do the training and just become this amazing athlete. Like
yeah.
it's like no, like there's so many moving parts to this now that you just need to be super conscious of it.
Yeah.
And yeah, so that was
Yeah.
definitely one thing that set me back early on. And it was actually a bit embarrassing because it was like you'd spoken to people that you know and been like, I'm gonna give this a go.
Yeah.
And then 6 months later you're like, oh, I can't train.
Yeah.
Like like
Well,
low
now
low
what?
iron,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
body's fucked.
Yeah. Yeah. But I think you saying that it's a blessing and a curse, like, you do have to go into situations like that a bit in a more naive mindset, right? Because I think too, it's very easy for us to talk ourselves out of some things as
Mm.
well. Have you ever experienced or has your mindset ever been in that space? Like, are you the type of person that's talked yourself out of things in the past, or have you always been that stubborn? No, I'm just gonna go all in and see where things take me.
Um, I think yes and no. Obviously, it very much depends on like circumstances, but
Yeah,
usually I'm like a if I'm not if my heart's not in it, and then my heart's not in it. But
yeah.
if I'm like willing to give something a crack, then
Yeah.
it's all in.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. I think that's important too then. Like, cuz again, we've talked about in the past, like, if if your heart's not into it, I think sometimes still you can get comfortable, and that for some people is
Yeah,
enough,
definitely.
right? But I think, like, for a lot of people, if your heart's not in it, you again, I think it just comes down to, like, there's not a specific word or there's not a specific tool that I think you have to overcome that or to get yourself, into next position. But I think, like, too, it does take a certain type of person to be like, no, my heart's not in it, so I'm just not going to do it anymore,
Yeah.
right? Um, but for you, when it then came to starting to race, getting back into it after that stress fracture, where did that kind of path go from there?
I felt like it was a very slow burn. Like um, I felt like I thought things would maybe be a bit faster, but it just doesn't really happen. Obviously, it doesn't happen like that. Like unless you're truly gifted, it just doesn't happen like that. Um, so, but like over the past few years, it's been more about like less about trying to be pro, and more about like follow the journey, take it as it comes, and just enjoy the process. Like every day, every week, I'm learning something new. I'm learning more and more, and especially over the past year, like the um, really just appreciating like what you can get from the sport, where it takes me, the people that I get to meet, like the fact that we're sitting here now because of that
Triathlon,
exact reason.
exactly. Yeah. What motivates you? So when it comes to motivation in these avenues that you've taken, what do you think is a motivating factor? Is there one thing? Is it a multitude of things? What do you think motivates you in your goals?
Like obviously, the people that have backed me early on and the people that are really close to me, like I always want to do them proud. And yeah, I think doing proud to like people closest to me in life, um, being able to reflect when I'm older and looking back at everything I've done and just be happy and like feel um, like gratitude and um, for the effort that I put in and just be proud of what I've done. That actually motivates me as well. Um, but even just thinking about like if if there was someone that was following me with a video camera every day, like what would I be doing to impress that camera? You know, it just in the back of my mind, it just
Living to the fullest, I think, is
yeah, yeah,
important. Yeah. Yeah.
definitely.
I think like, yeah, like, I don't know. I don't know if it's just the younger, like, our generation or millennial, like, because I think too, like, if you think about doing the things that you're striving for, or, like, changing careers or whatever. Like I know the last couple of years when I've been kind of going through my changes and everything, like you talk about it with your parents, of course, and they're like, why are you doing that? Like it just isn't something that has happened, I think, in the past, which is
Mm,
interesting because I think now a lot of us are realizing that, yeah, you kind of want to live life to the fullest a little bit. And if you don't have that passion in, like you were saying in your apprenticeship, or for me, like I did like being a physio, but I didn't love being a physio. And I think that for me was like, okay, well, then what do I love? Can I see myself doing this for the next however many years? And like, like I don't want to, am I getting too comfortable? All of
mm,
that kind of stuff. Right. So I think it's like interesting because it just seems to be the new. And I don't think that's a bad thing. I think like everybody should kind of live life to the fullest, and kind of just kind of make the switch if you need to, like jump on what you want to do, basically.
definitely. And you never, like I was saying before, like change nothing, nothing changes, and you never know where something's going to take you. Um, I know Ozzy Edwards well. You had him on the podcast, and he was talking about how him and his mates, they, in their mind, they knew what they wanted to do, and they were just chasing that, and just but even though some of the people around them weren't fully coherent with exactly what they were doing, they knew. Um,
That's the thing. You kind of have to have a bit of blind optimism in yourself. I
yeah,
think especially if you
ignorance, I like to
yeah,
call
yeah, yeah.
it.
I think like especially if you want to be, let's say, a professional athlete or something in that caliber, I think you do need to have, yeah, that ignorance, because if you go into it with a bit of doubt, I think that bleeds into
Yeah.
a lot of
Well,
things.
self belief's massive as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. For you, is that a mindset that you've always had, like a self-belief, or is that something that you've had to evolve over the years?
Definitely evolve. Yeah, I
Right.
think I'd love to be able to sit here and be like, I just fully believe in myself all the time. But like, I feel like even on a day to day basis, you sort of doubt yourself and all sorts of things. Um, but you got to then look at it in a different mindset and be like, and retrospectively look at it and be like, well, I doubted myself in that, but I did it. And then that's just like another step further. You keep kicking like these little mini goals inside your head.
Yeah, yeah. When it comes to your goals and when it comes to goals in general, how do you like to do goals? Are you like a planner of the future, or are you a one day at a time kind of guy? What does it look like for you?
My head is so messy, man. Like,
Okay.
yeah, like some days I'm like, I have this amazing vision for
Mm,
exactly what everything's gonna look like the next
yeah.
5 or 6 weeks, and then the next day it's like, fuck, I don't even know what I'm doing
Yeah.
tomorrow.
Yeah.
Like, I've just bought my doing my course now in certificate 4 in
Yeah.
fitness. Like,
Yeah.
that wasn't even on the cards 2 weeks ago.
Mm, mhm.
Um, I yeah, I'm like trying to start an Amazon brand. I'm like trying to pick up more athletes coaching.
Yeah.
I'm doing these other jobs, and there's heaps of different things on the go, and
Mm.
I I think I sort of map out roughly like what I want things to look like, what I want to achieve, um, and then everything around it's a little bit looser, but all sort of interacts with each other to achieve that one end goal.
Yeah, yeah. I think too, like you do need to have this impulsiveness sometimes as well. Like
Mm,
if you're looking to do something great, or if you're looking to do something not, let's just say not normal, because like, when you're starting a business, when you're being an athlete or whatever, that's not a normal thing, I think.
no.
I think the normal thing is going to uni and then working your 9 to 5 and, going home. And like, I think that's amazing. I think like for a lot of people, that's what they want. And
Yeah,
there's
yeah.
nothing wrong with that. But I do think like it is not normal right now. And things are starting to evolve. Like I think now a lot of people are not going to uni anymore, and they're doing the not normal route. But I do think you do need to be a bit impulsive sometimes doing that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I know I'm the same way. Like I am a big thinker in the sense that like I like to think things through, but at the same time, I make decisions overnight sometimes. And that's where a lot of like the things this podcast 6 years ago was like an overnight decision. I literally started overnight in my dorm room. I thought one night, oh, I think maybe listening to a podcast or whatever, maybe I should do this. And then like had a couple of mates on like through Zoom, and 6 years later, here I am still. Like
Yeah.
it, I think you need to be impulsive sometimes. And if things don't work out, like, oh well, on to the next thing,
Mm.
really. And I think that's where a lot of people might
They get scared. They get scared of that, but you learn so much from that, which
yeah.
sort of leads me on to my next thing. What size foot are you?
9.
Okay. Do you know what that is in euro? Is that like, that's a
Uh,
42, isn't it? I reckon
maybe 42. Yeah.
it is a 42.
Yeah.
But
Oh,
that leads me on to one of my
oh,
other ventures,
cool.
which is my own shoe brand.
Show that on the camera. There you go. Cool. Yeah. All right.
So
When did
that's
this start?
that's for you.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. When did this start? Talk me through this.
So I
Sick.
yeah. So there's a long bit of story about it.
Yeah.
So I use recovery shoe just as the broad term.
Yeah.
But really what it is just a convenient, easy shoe, something comfortable to slip on pre and post training.
Yeah.
Just even if you're going down to the coffee shop, whatever it be.
Mhm.
But I was in Europe in 2024, and I was away for a race, and I went into some shitty little shop, and I was like, I need some slides, I need something. Ended up buying something very similar to that, and I was like, shit, these are really comfortable. Like, I wonder if I could do a spin on this and try and like make my own shoe brand out of it for a bit of fun. And yeah, ended up talking to this lady who liaises with all the factories in China, and I was like, look, I've got this shoe. Can you find me a mold? Something that we can create. And then I was like talking to my dad about it. He's done like lots of business stuff before, and he's like, yeah, you may as well like give it a go. Why not? And yeah, just fruition from there. And it took me almost about a year to get like off the ground. I sort of underestimated how long doing sampling would take.
Yeah. I'm
So
in that right now. It takes a long time.
like I found a factory that had a mold and I was like, that looks good. Ordered the first sample, and the shoe was like complete shit. Like it was so hard. I was like, this is uncomfortable. Like no one's gonna want to wear this. Like I want something that's gonna be cheap and just super comfortable. And so I ended up, but it was more affordable to go with this supplier given that they'd already had an existing mold. If you want to start creating your own molds, that's when things become quite expensive. And, if all goes well with this brand, then it's something I might look at in the future. But yeah, what happened after that was I was just going back and forth with the factory with them trying to manipulate the material to try and make it a bit more soft and forgiving. And then yeah, we finally landed on something that I thought was pretty suitable. And yeah, ended up committing to like the MOQ and trying to start this brand. But it's yeah, it's been up and down. And it's definitely not been the easiest thing ever. And there's a lot of stuff I regret about it. Especially like the financial input that you have to put in initially when starting a business. But like I've learned so much from it and I don't think like, there's a lot of things that I've learned from it that I wouldn't have learned otherwise, which goes back to what we were talking about before, like regardless of whether this succeeds or fails, like I've learned a lot from it, which I can take forward moving into like my other business ventures and things.
I think it also shows a lot about people's drives when they've started something like this as well, right? Because like two, I think you have to go into a situation, and these days I think why a lot of people don't start things like this is because we compare ourselves to something like Nike, for example, and oh, I'm going to launch my clothing brand or my shoe brand or whatever, or my online business, and overnight want to sell out or whatever. And if they don't, like, people consider that a failure
Yeah.
on themselves. But like, I think too, if you think back to things like Nike or Adidas or whatever these big brands are, they were not an overnight success either.
No,
Like,
definitely.
so I don't think you can let that be a fear as well. Like you do have to make these impulsive decisions to, start a brand, and then it teaches you resilience a little bit as well, because you do have ups and downs, like you were saying. You do have regrets sometimes.
Mm,
And with me starting the Kova House, like the running brand that's coming, it like, again, like you were saying, I underestimated 12 months ago how long sampling would be, and
mm.
launch is supposed to be January, and it's now already almost March and still nowhere near because
I
like
was the exact
yeah,
same, man. I
yeah.
was like, I want to have this before Christmas,
Yeah, yeah,
and then it didn't release until end of June. So
yeah,
it was like 7 or 8 months
yeah.
later, and I was like,
And I'm still nowhere near. I've had my next load of samples come in, and I'm like, not, don't like that, don't like that. So it's going to be a little bit longer. And again, like it teaches you resilience, I think.
mm,
Like it teaches you that you kind of have to push through sometimes, because it is the easier thing, I think, is just to stop and be like, to cut my losses. Oh, I've put in this much money. That's fine. Like I'll just walk away, and but I think you kind of have to push through that a little bit more.
yeah.
Do you think triathlon do you think that's a lesson that triathlon endurance sport has taught you, or was it something else that has taught you that resilience?
I think everything that's happened like throughout my life has paid dividends to the resilience that I have, even when it comes to starting a brand. Um, yeah, and I think just seeing other people close to me in life how hard they work gives me resilience and motivation to keep trying and trying and trying. I've sent hundreds of shoes to people for them to sample, and I don't ask for much in return, but I think 90% of the time it's just they'll receive the product and you'll never hear anything back from them. And that's just how things go. And you just have to keep trying and keep doing new things.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And yeah, I think it's like it's a very interesting topic, because that's a hard question, because I don't know that you can learn resilience in a certain moment, right? It's
Mm,
something that comes over the years, but I do think that a lot of triathlon is resilience, right? It being out there
yeah.
for a short course, long course, you do need to have that resilience. And
Or just endurance sport in general.
mm,
I think
yeah,
it's no matter what it is,
yeah,
it's very character building.
yeah, absolutely.
I've
And
got I'm sorry, I'll deviate
no,
quickly.
no.
Um one of my close mates, he almost made the Olympic squad for swimming. Unbelievable swimmer. Tried tried I think it was maybe the 1500 meter in the pool. Missed out by probably a bee's dick. Like it was probably like a millisecond or something. Shifted then to doing the marathon swim, which is a 10K open water. Um, so like already this massive setback, but then has this resilience to move on, be like, okay, if it's not going to be this, it's going to be that. And he keeps moving. And like, I think for him to sort of build resilience through that, he started then doing 30K open water swims, because then he was like, well, if I can do the 30K ones, then the 10K will seem easy. And then they choose two Australians for the open water swim, and he was the third pick, so he missed out again. So his that Olympic dream was then crushed. But then he now has moved over into triathlon, and that Olympic dream's all of a sudden become alive again because of the possibility of being able to do the mixed relay in the triathlon Olympics. So yeah, like I think seeing people like that and the resilience that they have. His name's Chris Deegan, by the way. Crazy guy, crazy guy. And seeing like the resilience that someone like that can have, you can learn a lot from.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And I do think like people in endurance sports specifically, like I think that is a skill that you can then take that for other avenues in life, like this, like, your personal life or whatever. Like I do think endurance sport teaches us a lot. And I think like we all have a backstory. We all go into endurance sport for a different reason. But I
Mm.
think these skills like resilience, like You know, things like that are things that we all come out of it with, and then
Yeah.
it's just how we use that after, really, and like how we continue to evolve. Because again, like to a lot of people, it might sound insane and dumb and a waste of time to wake up on Saturday morning and go for a big ride or go for a run or whatever it might be. But like, I think for us, it's A, something that we love doing, but B, like, I think it's just a skill and a habit that we've done over the years basically to get us to the point that you are now,
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah.
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 Um, when it comes to your 70.3 win, basically, what was that path like, and what was that experience like for you? I guess maybe leading up to that and then the aftermath of that.
Um, Leading up to it, I felt like it was like 2 years delayed.
Okay.
Like when I started, I was like, "Oh, I could do this.
Yeah,
Like it
yeah.
would be so easy."
Yeah.
It's just not true. Like, it's just not true.
Yeah.
Um, so I think like a big part of it was relief. Um, but then just being super happy. And then it was really cool because I was away. I was in Malaysia. My girlfriend was with me. Mum and dad actually came over, and it was the first time that they'd seen me do a half Ironman before. So, and probably one of the handful of times they've actually seen me race before. Um, and so, and to see the transition from 3 years earlier, where I was almost convincing them to be like, "Hey, I think I'm going to give triathlon a go." To then have them like supporting me so much and like um, to see them just super happy for the result as well made me super happy as well. Yeah.
Oh, awesome. When it comes to after that point, like when you reach, I don't want to say a peak because, that's not a peak. But like yeah,
Definitely.
but like when you reach a win, I think too sometimes people can be like, "Oh, well, now what?" Or sometimes it can be a bit um not over motivating, but it's hard to sometimes get to the next thing, or people want to relive that moment or let it get to them or whatever. Have you ever experienced that, like, getting to that moment, getting to that win? Do you think it affected anything mentally, or were you pretty level minded after that?
No, I've got a very holistic approach now. Like it sounds funny when I say it, but at the end of the day, it's triathlon, and no one gives a fuck about triathlon.
That's very true, isn't it?
The reality
Yeah,
is
yeah.
that no one gives a fuck.
Yeah.
And to be honest, it's not like it's the Ironman World Championships or anything like that. So I'm not signing contracts with Red Bull or anything like that. It's not like a massive crazy thing.
Yeah.
So I was like, it was fun it was in Malaysia, and so that was fun because everyone over there are just some of the nicest people in the world, and you get treated like royalty. I was getting pulled aside having interviews, and then I was in the newspapers the day after. They'd put things in my bedroom, like in my apartment or the hotel room, and like for congratulations and champagne and stuff. I was like, it felt crazy. But then it was sort of just like back to reality. The day after, it was just like, yep, triathlon.
Well,
That's it.
that's a good way to look at it, really,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
yeah, unless you're in the triathlon bubble, which the bubble's growing, we talked about this.
That's true. That is very true.
Yeah, a lot of people don't. I don't know, like, yeah, I think like a lot of people don't care, but I think too, like a lot of people don't understand, right? Like, if unless you're in the sport, unless you are like really understanding of the work that goes into, whether you're a weekend warrior training for 70.3 or like, a pro, like it takes a lot to go out there and to finish an event like a long course 70.3 or full Ironman. Like you have to make a lot of sacrifices, really, and I don't think a lot of people understand that, really. Which is understandable. Like again, it's a very niche bubble thing and not a lot of people care, but like I think yeah.
No, you are 100% right. And the people that are within the sport and people closest to me did definitely acknowledge it. And so that was yeah, that was cool as well. But um yeah, you are right. Like the people within the bubble, the people that know the demands of the sport,
Mm.
they know the sacrifice that goes into it. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Cause one of my favorite things is like, when you're talking when I talk to a family member and like, oh, how was the 5K marathon that you did, a week ago? Or like, like just not understanding the sport or like that world really, like coming from a good place, but at the same time, like it's not something that they do. So they just don't understand like what you're doing sometimes, which
yeah,
is
yeah, yeah.
kind of completely fair, really. Like they don't give a crap.
But it's yeah, it's funny because even the the girl, the one of the managers of a gym that I go to,
Yeah.
God bless her, she's beautiful, but she like even put a post out after the race and was
Mhm.
like, "Congratulations to Jed for winning his first marathon."
Yeah.
I was like, "Come on!" Like,
Yeah, kind of, but not really.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, well, it's all relative, I guess, just
yeah,
to a
yeah.
lot of people.
The kudos was there, the intention was
Yeah,
there, so
exactly.
take it.
That's the main thing. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
When it comes to what's coming next, you're saying that you're traveling soon for racing and whatnot.
Yeah.
What's kind of coming for you, and what are you looking forward to?
I've got so 2 races coming up, end of April and then beginning of May. Um, First one is in China, which is my first proper elite race. There's some prize money up for grabs, like I was saying to you. Um, I'm super excited for that one because just of the opportunity to getting to race in China. But then just like the cultural side of things, like really excited to see that and just like see what the triathlon culture is like over in China. And then straight after that, flying to Vietnam and doing a race 2 weeks later in Vietnam. I've actually never done two half Ironmans this close together before. So I'll be interested to sort of see exactly how the body's going to respond. I know that sometimes, like the next day, I'm fine to even just go for a run. But then other times, like you're in shambles and you can hardly get out of bed. Um, Hopefully it's the other one.
Yeah.
Hopefully I'm good the next
The
day.
later one, yeah.
Um, but yeah, we'll see. I'll just have
Yeah.
to shovel some carbs in my face after
Yeah,
after
yeah,
the race, and
exactly.
yeah,
A little binge is never a bad thing, I guess, after a
no,
race.
no, definitely not.
How do you think you're going into these races differently compared to last races, or are you going differently?
No, I'm really just trying to keep things the same. Yeah, I'm really like, I don't want to. I don't ever really take things too seriously. I think very like early on in my life, I was put way too much pressure on myself. Like for example, being in the apprenticeship, like I put pressure on myself to stay there and just keep trying to achieve the goal of becoming an engineer. So I think I put too much pressure then. So now I try and alleviate that and just have more fun and just try and enjoy the process and the journey and like meeting all these amazing people along the way and seeing these incredible places and just being super appreciative of these amazing places I get to go to do these races. Um, yeah, so
That's a good way, I think a very good way to look at it, really, because yeah, I think too, like sometimes putting like these exorbitant amounts of pressure on yourself can break things as well, right? Like if one race doesn't go as planned or anything like anything in life, if you put so much pressure on yourself and it doesn't go as planned, then I think too like that can make or break a lot of things as well. Whereas
yeah,
when you go into things with a little bit more optimism, but also just like to have a bit more fun taking the experience. Like it's a good way to see the world when you're traveling for triathlon as well. Like you're saying, like good to see other cultures and meet people. Like I think it just makes the experience a bit more enjoyable. And that's something that I've realized talking to pro athletes, Olympians, whoever it might be on the podcast. I think they've given me similar answers that like, yes, once they would put themselves through a exorbitant amounts of pressure, but like it wasn't until they went into situations just trying to absorb the actual experience and have a bit more fun. That was kind of when things shifted for them and they started, I guess, doing a bit more better performance wise as well. Like, I think too, like, when you go into things with a different mindset, like you come out with it, you come out a little bit differently as well, which
yeah,
is hard to go into sometimes. I think like some people are naturally put more pressure on themselves, but I think too like if you think of it like just another experience really. Like you do want to look back at it in 20 years and it be a positive experience
Mm.
versus like, it being such a tense, unhappy
Yeah, yeah.
experience really.
Well, and all of this has an expiry date. You know, you are never going to be able to do this forever. Yeah, reality is going to set in at some point. I'm probably going to have a 9 to 5 again at some point.
Yeah.
Hopefully not, but
Yeah.
you know, and you know, I'll be doing things to. Hopefully, I have a family, and I'll be doing things to try and support my family, and um, you know, reality will be real, and I'm not going to have the luxury of, just say goodbye to the casual job. I'm going away for a week to do a race. You know, like so. That's where my mindset's changed a lot in the past few years, where it's like this is going to end at some point. Make the most of it now while you can. Try and inspire as many other people in the moment as you can, and yeah, just soak it up and enjoy it.
You're saying that you're going up north a little bit later as well to do some work. What are you doing up there?
Yeah, so did it a couple times last year, and then going up again this weekend and heading out to an Indigenous community on Elko Island, and just working with some of these boys. It's actually part of a men's wellness program. So just trying to sort of ingrain some better habits and teach these boys how to make some better, healthier life decisions. And yeah, just working with them, and sports a massive motivator for them. And football's massive for them. So I feel like I'm losing my touch a little bit because of like how football feels like it's so far behind me now. And that like endurance sport's massive for me, but still just using like the platform that I've got and the experience that I've got to just relate. Well, not necessarily so much relate with these boys, but just um, try and inflict some good on them, and just hopefully do my part when I'm there.
How did this come to be? So you're saying that you've done this before, something like this before. How did this kind of come to be and how did you get into this?
Yeah. So through pretty much all through school and like my teenage years, had a bunch of Indigenous boys live with me at home and whatnot, from up north and far north WA and other places, and just and especially like my dad, like just had a very strong connection with them. And then my dad in the past couple years had started doing football clinics in a community called Whatea. This community is very, very remote. Um, like you need to catch a small four-seater charter flight to get there. And the community itself had quite a lot of troubles, and they hadn't. And football's been very grounding for them. Like it brings everyone together. It stops a lot of the fighting that happens there. Um, and yeah, like we're talking about communities where people are getting speared, and it's frowned upon if you don't fight. Like it's ingrained in the culture. So yeah, like dad has started running football clinics there with the NTFL, and he's just through his connections of playing football through the years, has gotten AFLW, like AFL women players to go up there, and men players to go up there and be a part of these clinics. And then through a contact of that, uh, that's how I got the gig to go up there a few times and do it. And my girlfriend actually comes with me as well, so she's a dietitian, and she's an accredited sports dietitian as well. So, because diabetes is a massive problem in these communities, so she comes up and just tries to shed some knowledge on that as well.
Yeah. I think I think that's a good thing about sport too. Like, you can use sport in that aspect. Like it's so much more than just an activity for a lot of people. Like,
Well, and for these boys and the girls, it's a massive out for them, and we're talking like incredible talent. Like we set up these speed gates once, and we're doing like a 20-meter sprint. There's guys, and sorry, I shouldn't call them guys, but like boys, like just sitting down, cold, no shoes, completely barefoot, coming up and doing 20-meter sprint test, and being like half a second off what like the NFL best times are. Like incredible speed. So like the amount of natural talent up there is incredible, and just being able to get up there and just like show the leverage that sport can have for someone like that can play a massive role.
I think it puts things into perspective as well too, like, you know, just the outcome that sport can have on communities like that and just
Mm,
on people in general. Like, I think too, yeah, like we were just saying, like sport is so much more than just a game for a lot of people. Like you were saying, it's an out and it's something that kind of like people can escape
yeah,
to. Even somebody jumping on their bike and going for an hour long ride, or if they're in a remote area kicking a ball around, like I think it is something a bit more impactful than just a game that we see on TV for a
yeah,
lot of people. So I think, yeah, it is important to have opportunities like this, because not a lot of people, I guess, have that option,
yeah,
right? Like,
definitely. And also like it definitely keeps me grounded as well. Like,
mm,
um, obviously triathlon's quite indulgent. It's not like I'm spending everything I earn
yeah,
just to go away to these exotic places and
yeah,
do races.
yeah,
And then to be really grounded when going to these communities and seeing these guys and girls that have got absolutely nothing.
yeah.
But um, yeah,
Yeah, no, for sure. Like I think it's like an awesome thing, and that's why I wanted to touch on that as well, because I think, like, again, just sport is so broad and it's used all over the world and it's used for something different in everybody, really. So, yeah, that's awesome. But Jed, I want you to maybe have a think, and to the person listening right now, what is something that you want to leave them with? What is something that, whether it be something just the top of your head, something that you've discussed already in the past, what is something that you want to leave them with today?
two things which um, one comes from my mum and the other comes from my dad. One is takers eat well and givers sleep well. So be willing to be conscious of the people around you. And then the other thing is what I said earlier, which is don't put off till tomorrow what you can afford to do today. And just seize an opportunity and take a hunch and have some fun, you know? Like,
Amazing. Yeah. No, I'm not going to really say anything after that, because I think that was a great way to end. But what I am going to say is thank you for coming on the podcast. Thank you for sharing your story and, just sharing kind of broadly and openly, because I think that's a hard thing as well, is being vulnerable about people's story, your story. And like I was saying, is even if it's just one person listening right now that takes something away, I think that's very important. So thank you for coming on and for sharing. And for these, you guys, that'll be in the link, or in the link in the show notes as well. I'll post all of that. But where can people find you?
yeah, mostly just on Instagram.
Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
yeah.
Yeah. So that'll be in the show notes, as well as the link to the shoes and everything else. We'll discuss what we want to put in the show notes. But thank you for coming on.
No, thank you, man. I really, really appreciate it. It's
Yeah.
been good fun. It's been good to meet you and everything as well.